A starving homeless girl was searching for bread. A Hell's Angel saw her and said, "Fill the cart." The van smelled like old sleeping bags and the faint, sweet memory of the last orange Sam had eaten 2 days ago. Outside, the night was cold and dark, pressing against the dusty windows like a blanket that didn't fit. "Tell me the one about the whale," Sam whispered. His tiny voice was scratchy from sleep, and his stomach made a sad, hollow sound. "The one that got lost." Lena smiled in the dark. She wrapped her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders and pulled Sam closer. He was so small, a ball of warmth in the cold metal box of their home. "Okay, buddy," she said, her voice soft and steady. "Once there was a big blue whale named Bartholomew. He was the biggest whale in the whole ocean, bigger than a bus, bigger than a school, maybe even bigger than that giant water tower on Maple Street. Bigger than a T-Rex?" Sam asked, his eyes wide in the dim light. "Much bigger. Bigger than a T-Rex standing on another T-Rex's shoulders." Sam giggled. It was a tiny, tired sound, but it was enough to warm the van. So, Bartholomew was swimming along, just doing whale stuff, when a big storm came. The waves got huge, like gray mountains. And when the storm passed, Bartholomew looked around, and he was all alone. He didn't know which way was home. Before you continue listening, please let me know where in the world are you watching from today. Now back to the story. Was he scared? Sam asked. "Maybe a little," Lena said. "But he was brave too. Because whales are brave, and he knew that if he just kept swimming, he would find his family. He just had to keep going." Sam was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I like that story. I know you do. Is there gonna be bread tomorrow?" Lena's throat tightened. She looked at the gas gauge on the dashboard. It was on empty. The needle was resting right on the little white line, not moving, like a sleeping bird that didn't plan on waking up. They had no money, no food, just each other. "Yeah," she said, "there's gonna be bread." She waited until Sam's breathing evened out and his little body went heavy against her side. Then she carefully, slowly pulled her arm away. She patted her jeans. Her pockets were empty, flat, just thread and hope. She dug deeper anyway. Nothing. Lena looked at Sam one more time. His face was peaceful in sleep, with his mouth slightly open and his hand curled under his cheek. He looked like a normal 6-year-old kid, like any other kid who had a bed and a kitchen and a mom who was still there. But he wasn't. And Lena had to be everything for him. She had to be the mom. She had to be the dad. She had to be the shield and the sword and the roof over his head. She grabbed the little key ring from the cup holder. She slid open the van's side door, just enough to slip through, and then she locked it behind her. The click echoed in the empty parking lot behind the closed laundromat. She walked fast, her hands in her pockets. The streetlights were few and far between, and the ones that worked flickered like dying candles. She stuck to the shadows. That was the rule. Stay invisible. Stay safe. She took the back alleys. They were dirtier, but they were quieter. No eyes, no questions. Just the smell of trash and old rain. Then she saw the grocery store up ahead. Big and bright, a 24-hour megastore with yellow lights spilling out onto the parking lot. Too bright for her, too exposed. But around the back, there was a dark alley. And in that alley, she knew, there was a dumpster. A big green one that sat behind the loading dock. She had seen another kid pull a bag of bagels out of it last week. A whole bag. They had been a little stale, but they were bagels. Lena's mouth watered. She crept closer. The dumpster loomed in the dark, a metal monster full of secrets. She got to the edge of it and looked around. No one was watching. The coast was clear. She reached up, grabbing the cold, greasy metal edge. The smell hit her. Old food and sour milk and something she couldn't name. She didn't care. She had smelled worse. She had gone days without food before. She heard a noise behind her. Heavy footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Lena froze. Her heart slammed against her ribs. She didn't turn around. She didn't breathe. She just stood there, her fingers still gripping the dumpster, waiting for the voice that would tell her to turn around. Lena turned around slowly, her hands coming up in front of her face. Her heart was a wild drum in her chest. She had practiced this moment 100 times in her head. Run, fight, scream, do whatever it takes to get back to Sam. But the man standing over her didn't move like a threat. He was huge. Massive, his shoulders filled the alley like a wall of leather and denim. A thick beard covered the lower half of his face, gray streaked through the dark. His arms were covered in tattoos, winding up to his elbows like stories she couldn't read. And on his chest, over his heart, was a patch she had seen before. A skull with wings. The Hell's Angel patch. Lena's blood went cold. She had heard stories about these men. Everyone had. They were dangerous. They were criminals. They took what they wanted and left nothing behind. But this man wasn't moving. He just stood there, looking down at her with eyes that were old and tired and sad in a way that made her pause. He wasn't angry. He wasn't snarling. He was just watching her, like he had been waiting for her to show up. "Easy, girl," he said. His voice was low and rough, like gravel rolling down a hill. "I'm not gonna hurt you." Lena didn't lower her hands. "Stay back," she said. Her voice shook, but she forced it to stay steady. "I'll scream. Scream all you want. No one's gonna come." He said it without cruelty, just as a fact, like he was telling her the time or the weather. Lena's eyes darted around. The alley was dark, empty. The loading dock was silent. She was trapped between this giant and the dumpster, and there was no way out. The man tipped his chin toward something behind her. "That what you came for?" Lena turned her head just enough to see. There was a shopping cart pushed up against the side of the dumpster. It was beat up and rusty. One wheel was bent. It looked like it had been there for years. "I don't want any trouble," Lena said, her voice harder now. "I'll leave." "You'll leave," the man repeated. He nodded slowly, like he was thinking about it. "Sure, you can leave. But that cart's not gonna fill itself." Lena stared at him. Her mind was spinning. None of this made sense. He took a step closer, and Lena flinched. But he didn't reach for her. He just pointed at the cart. "Fill the cart, girl," he said. "All of it." Lena blinked. "What?" "The cart. Fill it." He gestured toward the grocery store, its bright lights humming in the distance. "You're hungry. I can see it in your eyes. I've seen that look before. 100 times. 1,000 times." He took another step toward the cart and grabbed the handle. The bent wheel squeaked as he pushed it toward Lena. It stopped right in front of her. "Go on," he said. "Get what you need." Lena's throat was dry. Her hands were shaking. She didn't understand. This was wrong. This was a trap. It had to be. Men like him didn't help girls like her. They took. They didn't give. But the man wasn't looking at her like prey. He was looking at her like she was someone he had been expecting, like she was a package that had finally arrived. "What's the catch?" Lena asked. "No catch. There's always a catch." The man was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You got a brother?" Lena's heart stopped. She didn't answer. She couldn't. "I saw you," the man said, "behind the laundromat, earlier tonight. You were holding him, singing to him. I saw the way you looked at him." Lena's eyes went wide. He had been watching her. He had seen Sam. Her whole body went tight with fear. "Don't worry," the man said. "I'm not here to hurt your brother. I'm here to help you feed him." He pushed the cart again, nudging it against her legs. "Fill it," he said. "Milk, eggs, bread, whatever you need. I'll take care of it." Lena looked at the cart. She looked at the man. She looked at the bright lights of the store. Every instinct told her to run, to grab Sam and disappear into the night like they had done so many times before. But then she thought about Sam's stomach. That hollow, sad sound. She thought about the way he asked if there was going to be bread. She stepped forward and grabbed the cart's handle. The man nodded. He turned and started walking toward the store entrance, his heavy boots crunching on the gravel. He didn't look back. Lena followed. Her heart was pounding, her mind was racing, but her feet kept moving, one step after another, pushing the rusty cart through the dark toward the yellow lights, toward the unknown. And for the first time in a very long time, she didn't know what was going to happen next. The automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh, and the cold air of the store washed over Lena's skin. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. The floors were so clean they reflected the shelves like mirrors. She had been in stores like this before, but always with her head down, always ready to run. Now she stood next to a giant in a leather vest, pushing a rusty cart through a store that smelled like fresh bread and floor wax. It felt like a dream. A strange, impossible dream. Duke stopped near the entrance. He turned to face her, and his shadow fell over her like a canopy. "Go on," he said. "Grab what you need." Lena didn't move. Her hands were frozen on the cart handle. Her eyes scanned the aisles, then the exits, then the security cameras, then back to him. "I can't," she whispered. "Can't what?" "I can't just take things." Her voice cracked. "I don't have money." Duke's face softened. The lines around his eyes deepened, but not in a cruel way. He looked at her the way she looked at Sam when he was scared of the dark. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. His voice was gentler now. Softer, like he was calming a wild animal. "I saw you digging through trash. I saw that little boy with you. I want to help. Come on." Lena's throat tightened. She wanted to argue. She wanted to push the cart away and run. But something in his eyes held her there. Something that looked an awful lot like kindness. She took a breath. Then another. Slowly, she pushed the cart forward. The first aisle was full of cereal boxes, bright colors. Cartoon characters. She should grab something cheap. Something filling. But her hands hovered over the generic brand, and her mind went blank. "Milk first," Duke said from behind her. "Kids need milk." Lena nodded. She moved to the cold section and pulled a gallon of milk from the shelf. It was heavy and cold in her hands. She placed it in the cart like it was made of glass. Then bread. A whole loaf, soft and fresh. She touched it through the plastic bag and almost couldn't believe it was real. Eggs, a carton of 12. She opened the lid to check that none were cracked. They were perfect. A bag of apples, red and shiny. Sam loved apples. He called them crunchy circles, canned soup. She grabbed 6 cans, chicken noodle, tomato, the kind that came with little stars in it. Her hands moved faster now. She added peanut butter, a jar of jelly, a box of pasta, a can of sauce. The cart was filling up. She kept glancing at Duke, expecting him to stop her, to say, "That's enough." But he just stood there with his arms crossed, watching her with something that looked like pride. "Anything else?" he asked. Lena thought about Sam, about his little face, about the way he always asked for the same thing whenever they passed a toy store. But she shook her head. "No, this is plenty." Duke didn't answer. He just turned and started walking toward the toy aisle. Lena followed, confused. The aisle was bright and colorful. Stuffed animals lined the shelves. Dolls, trucks, puzzles. Duke walked past all of it and stopped at a bin full of dinosaurs. He reached in and pulled out a green one. It was soft and plush, with a friendly face and stitched-on scales. Its little arms were spread wide, like it was asking for a hug. "For the boy," Duke said. He placed the dinosaur in the cart, right on top of the bread. Lena stared at it. Her eyes stung. She blinked hard. "He's 6, she managed. He'll love it." Duke just nodded. They made their way to the checkout lane. A woman with curly hair and a tired smile stood behind the register. She started scanning the items without a word. Beep, 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 the machine blinked with every item. Lena's heart started to race. Her palms got sweaty. The total was climbing. She could see the numbers on the little screen. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. She had nothing. Not a single dollar to her name. When the last item slid across the scanner, the cashier looked up and smiled at Duke. Duke reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn leather wallet. He handed the cashier a card. Not a credit card. Something else. A small laminated card with a gold emblem on it. "Put it on my tab," he said. The cashier nodded, swiped the card and handed it back. She didn't ask for money. She didn't frown. She just said, "Have a good night, Sheriff." Duke gave her a small nod and started loading the bags into a second cart he had grabbed near the door. Lena watched, frozen. Her mind was spinning. When they were outside, standing under the buzzing parking lot lights, she finally found her voice. She leaned in close and whispered, "You're a thief." Duke let out a low chuckle. It rumbled in his chest like distant thunder. "No," he said. "I'm the local guardian." He pushed the second cart toward her. Both were full to the brim with bags. "Come on," he said. "Let's get this food to your brother." And Lena, for the first time all night, felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Hope, the old brick diner, sat at the end of a quiet street, its red neon sign buzzing softly in the night. The letters spelled out Dolly's Diner in a curly script, and a few flickered like they were tired. But the windows glowed warm and golden. Lena could see people moving inside. Many people. Duke pushed both carts up the cracked sidewalk. He stopped at the front door and looked back at her. "You ready?" he asked. Lena wasn't sure what she was supposed to be ready for. She nodded anyway. The door swung open, and a wave of warm air hit her face. It smelled like butter, syrup, and fresh coffee. Her stomach growled so loud she was sure everyone heard it. Inside, the diner was packed. Tables stretched across the room, covered in red and white checkered cloths. Families sat together, kids with sticky fingers, mothers with tired eyes, old men in worn coats. Everyone had a plate of food in front of them. And walking between the tables, carrying trays and pouring coffee, were men in leather vests. Big men. Rough men. Men with beards and tattoos and silver chains. They moved through the room like they belonged there. One giant man with a shaved head knelt down to help a little girl cut her pancakes. Another one ruffled a boy's hair and laughed. A third held a sleeping baby while the mother ate with both hands. Lena stopped. She couldn't move. Her mouth hung open. Duke set the bags down and put a heavy hand on her shoulder. "Welcome to Dolly's," he said. "This is our nightly operation. We feed the ones who've fallen through the cracks." Lena blinked. Through the cracks. That was her. That was Sam. That was exactly who they were. The shaved head man looked up and grinned. "Duke. Brought a new one, huh?" "Her name's Lena," Duke said. "She's got a little brother." The man nodded and walked over. Up close, his arms were covered in colorful tattoos, but his eyes were warm and kind. "Nice to meet you, Lena. I'm Trigger. Don't let the face scare you. I'm a big softy." Lena let out a shaky breath. She didn't know what to say. Her voice felt stuck somewhere in her chest. Duke guided her through the room. He introduced her to a few others. Cowboy, Bones, Barefoot. Each one gave her a nod or a gentle smile. They all had rough hands and soft eyes. At the back of the diner, there was a long counter lined with stools. Behind it, a man with a thick gray beard flipped pancakes on a huge griddle. He wore a leather vest over his apron. "This is Bull," Duke said. "He's our chef." Bull turned around and gave Lena a big grin. "You hungry, kid?" Lena's throat tightened. She nodded. Bull grabbed a plate and started piling it with food. Fluffy pancakes, scrambled eggs, a few strips of bacon, a scoop of golden potatoes. He slid the plate across the counter. "Get her, Duke. Sit her down." Duke took the plate and nodded toward an empty booth near the window. Lena followed him slowly. Her legs felt weak. Her whole body trembled. He set the plate down and gestured to the seat. "Sit, eat." Lena stared at the food. Steam rose from the pancakes. The bacon glistened. Her hands shook as she slid into the booth. The seat was old and cracked but comfortable. The window behind her showed the dark street outside. But inside, it was warm. It was safe. Duke sat across from her. He didn't say anything. He just waited. Lena picked up the fork. It felt heavy in her hand. She twirled it once. Twice. Then she looked at Duke. His leather vest was worn and scratched. His hands were covered in scars. But his eyes held no judgment. No questions. Just patience. She took a bite of pancake. It was warm. Sweet, soft, the syrup was real maple. It coated her tongue and slid down her throat. Something inside her cracked open. A wall she had built so high and so thick, it crumbled like old brick. Tears filled her eyes. She blinked, and they spilled down her cheeks. Duke didn't look away. He just nodded slowly. "Take your time," he said. "You're safe here." She took another bite. Then, another. The food was warm, and her tears were warm too, and for the first time in months, she wasn't listening for footsteps or watching the door or calculating how far the nearest exit was. She was just eating. The diner door opened behind her. She heard Duke's voice, soft and surprised. "Sam?" Lena spun around. Trigger stood in the doorway, holding little Sam in his arms. Sam's eyes were still heavy with sleep. His head rested on Trigger's big shoulder like it was a pillow. "He woke up," Trigger said quietly. "Didn't want to cry, so I brought him over." Sam's eyes fluttered open. He saw Lena. A smile spread across his face. "Lena." he mumbled. Trigger carried him over and placed him gently on the seat next to her. Sam leaned into her side, still groggy. "I'm hungry," Sam said. Lena laughed. It came out wet and messy. She wrapped an arm around him and pulled him close. Duke stood up. He walked to the counter and came back with a second plate. He set it down in front of Sam. "Here you go, big man." Dino nuggets. Sam's eyes went wide. Little breadcrumbed dinosaurs sat on the plate next to a tiny cup of ketchup. "For me?" Sam asked. Duke smiled. It was a soft smile. Tender, he looked at Sam like he was something precious. "All for you," Duke said. Sam grabbed a nugget and bit into it. His little cheeks puffed out. He chewed happily, swinging his legs under the table. Lena watched them. The giant biker. The tiny boy. Two strangers who somehow already felt like kin. She took another bite of her pancake, and the warmth spread through her chest. She didn't know what the morning would bring. She didn't know what the next day held. But right now, in this warm diner, with food on her plate and her brother beside her, and a gentle giant watching over them, she felt something she had almost forgotten existed. She felt safe. After the plates were clean and Sam's eyes were heavy again, Duke stood up from the booth. He placed his large hands on the table and looked at Lena. "There's something I want to show you," he said. "Both of you." Sam yawned. "Are we in trouble?" Duke smiled. "No, big man. No trouble." He led them through the crowded diner, past tables of laughing families and busy bikers. The warm smell of coffee and syrup followed them. At the back wall, there was a wooden door with a small sign that said office. Duke pulled a key from his pocket and unlocked it. The office was small and cluttered. Boxes of canned food lined one wall, stacked high like a fortress. Stacks of paper covered an old wooden desk. A single lamp cast a soft yellow glow over everything. In the corner stood a filing cabinet with a coffee can on top, full of pens and pencils. Duke pulled out 2 chairs. Lena sat down slowly. Sam climbed into her lap and rested his head against her chest. His little body was warm. His eyes fluttered closed. Duke sat across from them. His big frame barely fit behind the desk. He folded his scarred hands and looked at Lena for a long moment. "I want to tell you why I do this," he said. "Why this diner? Why the breakfasts? Why the full carts?" Lena stayed quiet. She held Sam a little tighter. "Years ago, my sister Maggie lived on these streets. She was young, scared, alone. His voice dropped low, rough and quiet. She didn't have anyone to help her, no one to bring her a plate of food, no one to make sure she was safe." Lena's chest tightened. Maggie. Her mother's name was Maggie. "I was in a bad place back then," Duke went on. "I couldn't help her the way I wanted to. But I made her a promise. I told her that if I ever had money, I'd make sure no child went hungry. No child would ever feel the way she felt." He paused. His eyes were far away for a moment, lost in an old memory. "It took me a long time to keep that promise. But I kept it." He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small wooden frame. He held it in his hands for a moment, rubbing his thumb along the edge. Then, he turned it toward Lena. The photo was old and faded. The colors had gone soft with age. A young woman with long brown hair and a gentle smile stood in front of a brick wall. She wore a simple dress and held a baby wrapped in a white blanket. The baby's tiny hand reached up toward the woman's chin. Lena's heart pounded in her chest. She knew that smile. She knew those eyes. She had seen them her whole life. In the van, in the morning light. In the quiet moments before her mother got sick. It was her mother. The young woman in the photo was Maggie, the mother who had held Lena close and promised everything would be okay. The mother who had gone without meals so Lena and Sam could eat. The mother who had passed away a year ago, leaving Lena with nothing but a fierce love for her little brother and a will to survive. Lena's hand trembled. She wanted to say something. She wanted to ask how Duke knew her mother. She wanted to ask why he had never come. She wanted to ask 100 questions. But the words wouldn't come. They stuck in her throat like stones. She just stared at the photo. Sam stirred in her lap. His eyes opened a crack. "Lena? It's okay," she whispered. "Go back to sleep." He closed his eyes again. Duke watched her carefully. His eyes were soft. Kind, he set the photo down gently on the desk between them. "You look just like her," he said. "Same eyes. I knew you were her daughter the moment I saw you." Lena froze. Her breath caught in her chest. Her whole body went still. She opened her mouth to speak, but before she could find the words, a sharp ring cut through the quiet room. The telephone on the desk. It rang again, loud and urgent. Duke's eyes flicked to it. He picked up the receiver. His face changed. The softness disappeared. His jaw tightened, his brow furrowed. "Yeah," he said into the phone. He listened for a moment. His knuckles went white around the receiver. The lines on his face deepened. "We've got a problem," he said. "The city is trying to shut us down." The room went still. Duke set the phone down slowly. He stared at it, then looked at Lena. "A health inspector filed a complaint," he said. "They claim the kitchen is unsafe. They want to take away our license." Trigger slammed his fist against the doorframe. "That's a lie. We keep that kitchen spotless. I could eat off those floors." "I know," Duke said. "It's not about the kitchen." He leaned forward. His voice stayed low and steady. "There's a developer who wants this land. The diner sits right in the middle of his plans. He's been trying to buy it for years. I always said no. Now he's using other ways. Cheaper ways. Meaner ways." A murmur ran through the bikers gathered at the door. Some of them cursed under their breath. Red-faced and furious, they looked at Duke for direction. "Someone call the city," one said. "Call the newspaper. We'll fight this. We will," Duke said. "But we fight smart. We open every door. We let them look at everything. We prove this place is cleaner than any restaurant in the state. And we prove we're essential." Lena understood. She had seen this before. People with money always found a way to crush the people without it. Her mother had taught her that. The system had taught her that. She shifted Sam in her lap. Her heart was still pounding from the photo. Her mother's face. Her mother's smile. The baby in the white blanket. Maggie, Duke's sister. That made him her uncle. But there was no time to think about that now. She set Sam down gently on the chair. He stirred but stayed asleep. "I can help," she said. The room turned toward her. "I can clean. I can organize. I can prove this place is the best-run diner in the city. I'll do whatever it takes." Duke looked at her for a long moment. His eyes were tired, but there was something warm in them. "You don't owe us anything, girl. Maybe I do," she said. "Maybe I want to earn my place." Duke was quiet. Then he nodded. "Okay, your shift starts now." And so the work began. The bikers moved through the diner like a friendly storm. They pulled tables away from the walls. They scrubbed the floors on their hands and knees. They wiped down every surface until it shone. Trigger took apart the stove and cleaned every piece. Another biker scrubbed the windows until they sparkled. Big men with tattoos and leather jackets worked side by side, laughing and joking like it was a party. Lena worked harder than she had worked in her entire life. She organized the pantry, she labeled cans, she swept, she mopped, she wiped, she scrubbed. Her arms ached and her hands were raw, but she did not stop. With every swipe of the rag, she felt something shift inside her. She was not just surviving. She was building. She was part of something. Sam woke up halfway through the night. He rubbed his eyes and looked around at the busy, laughing bikers. "Can I help too?" he asked. Trigger handed him a dust rag. "You got the corners, big man. Corners matter." Sam nodded seriously and went to work. He scrubbed the baseboards like they were the most important thing in the world. It was strange. These big men in leather jackets were gentle. They let Sam climb on their shoulders. They called him Big Man and gave him a hat that was too big. They told stories about old bikes and old fights and old friends. They made sure Sam had warm milk and a place to rest when he got tired. Lena watched them. She thought about her mother. She thought about the photo on the desk. She thought about all the years of hiding, of running, of being afraid. And she wondered, maybe this was what family felt like. Not blood, not papers, just people who showed up. By the time the first gray light crept through the windows, the diner sparkled. The floors reflected the ceiling lights. The counters gleamed. The windows were so clean they looked like they were not even there. The air smelled of lemons and soap. Duke stood in the middle of the room. He looked around very slowly. His eyes moved from the clean floor to the polished counters to his brothers, who were tired and smiling. "Looks good," he said. "Looks real good." The bikers cheered. Trigger slapped Duke on the back. Sam ran around the diner, amazed at how the whole room had changed. Lena stood by the window. The sun was coming up. The street was quiet. The whole world was turning pink and gold. She felt something growing in her chest. It was small and bright. It was hope. She looked at Duke. He looked back at her. "I'll do more than clean," she said. "I'll make sure we win." Duke nodded. A small smile crossed his face. That's the spirit. The storeroom smelled of soap and old paper. Lena had been sorting boxes for over an hour. Her hands were sore, but she liked the work. It kept her mind busy. It kept her from thinking about the photo on Duke's desk. Her mother's face. The baby in the white blanket. She reached for a box on the top shelf. It was heavy and awkward. As she pulled it down, her fingers caught something behind it. A small panel in the wall. It was loose. Lena paused. Her heart beat faster. She glanced toward the door. No one was coming. She pressed the panel gently. It popped open. Inside was a small metal box. It was dusty and old. She lifted it out carefully and set it on the floor. The latch was rusted, but it opened with a little push. Inside were legal documents. Old ones. Faded papers with official seals. And a set of keys. Brass keys, worn smooth at the edges, and an envelope. It was cream-colored. The edges were soft and crinkled. Across the front, in handwriting Lena knew better than her own, were the words, "To Duke. My brother." That handwriting. She had seen it on birthday cards, on notes tucked into her lunchbox, on the back of photographs. It was her mother's. Lena's hands shook as she opened the envelope. The letter inside was dated 9 years ago. She read it slowly. The words blurred at first, but she blinked them clear. "Dear Duke, if you are reading this, something has happened to me. I know we never had the chance to be real family. I know I ran away and hid from all of it. But you are my brother. My half-brother. And I want you to know that. Find my daughter. Her name is Lena. She has a little brother now, Sam. Tell her I am sorry. Tell her I love her. Tell her she was always the best thing I ever did. If you find them, please be good to them. They deserve better than I could give. Your sister. Maggie Lena read the letter 3 times. Each time the words hit her in a different place. First her chest. Then her stomach. Then deep in her bones. Maggie, she whispered. My mother. She heard footsteps behind her. She spun around. Duke stood in the doorway. His face was pale. His eyes were fixed on the envelope in her hands. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. I found it, Lena said. Her voice cracked. She wrote this to you. She called you her brother. Duke took a slow step forward, then another. He lowered himself to his knees in front of her. His big hands rested on his thighs. He looked older. Softer, your mother and I share a father, he said. His voice was low and rough. We never knew each other when we were kids. Different mothers, different homes. I tried to find her when I got older, but she was gone. She had already run. Lena stared at him. You looked for her? For years, he said. I didn't know she had children. I didn't know about you. Not until the night I found you behind that store. You have her eyes. The same fierce fire. I knew right away. You never told me. I was afraid, he said. Afraid you would run. Afraid you would hate me for all the years I wasn't there. I thought if I gave you time, you might trust me. You might want to stay. Lena looked down at the letter. The words swam again. Her mother's voice filled her head, a voice she had not heard in a year, a voice she had been missing every single day. I have a family, she said. I have an uncle. Duke reached out and took her hand. His palm was rough and warm. You have more than that, he said. You have me. You have Trigger. You have those loud old fools out there who would fight anyone for you. You have a home. Lena's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in so long, she did not try to stop them. She let them fall. Duke wrapped his arms around her. She was small against his chest. But she did not feel small. She felt held. You're my family, he said. I will never let you be hungry again. Lena buried her face in his jacket. She could smell leather and coffee and soap. She could feel his heart beating steady and strong. And for the first time in a very long time, she believed. A shadow moved in the doorway. Lena looked up. A tall man stood there. He wore a crisp gray suit. His shoes were polished like mirrors. In his hand, he held a thick paper envelope. Excuse me, he said. His voice was smooth and cold. Is this the owner of the establishment? Duke rose slowly. His body blocked Lena from view. That's me. The man smiled. It did not reach his eyes. He held out the envelope. This is for you, Duke, he said. You have 30 days to vacate. Duke took the envelope. He did not open it right away. He just held it, turning it over in his hands like it might bite him. You got the wrong place, Duke said. His voice was low and steady. Mr. Hartley smiled again. It was the kind of smile that made Lena's skin crawl. The kind that said he had already won. I never get the wrong place, Hartley said. This building has been sold. The whole block, actually. It's going to be a parking lot for a new shopping center. You have 30 days to clear out. Duke stepped closer. His shoulders filled the doorway. There are families who eat here every morning. Kids, old folks. People who have nowhere else to go. You want to pave over that? Hartley waved a hand like he was swatting a fly. That's not my problem. The city approved the permit. The papers are all in order. You can fight it if you want, but you will lose. And you will lose a lot of money trying. Lena felt the heat rise in her chest. She stepped around Duke. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was clear. You can't do this, she said. This place helps people. Real people. They need it. Hartley looked down at her. His eyes were flat and cold. Nobody cares about bums, girl. They can eat somewhere else. The words hit her like a slap. She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Her throat burned. Her fists clenched at her sides. She wanted to scream. She wanted to shove him. She wanted to make him understand. But she stayed silent. Because deep down, she knew that arguing with a man like this was like arguing with a wall. Walls do not listen. Walls do not care. Hartley turned to Duke. 30 days. That is generous of me. I could have made it 10. He walked out without another word. His polished shoes clicked against the old tile floor. The sound echoed long after he was gone. Lena stood there, trembling. Tears stung her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not in front of him. Not for him. Duke put a heavy hand on her shoulder. We fight, he said. We fight this thing. Lena looked up at him. How? He has lawyers. He has money. We have a rusty van and a storage room full of old boxes. Duke's jaw tightened. We have more than that. We have each other. And we have friends who know people. Get your coat. Within the hour, the diner was filled with the rumble of motorcycles. Bikers packed the booths and leaned against the counter. Trigger stood at the back, arms crossed, listening. Duke explained everything. The eviction. The parking lot. The 30 days. A man named Sal raised his hand. He was thin and wiry, with a gold tooth that flashed when he talked. My cousin's a paralegal. She works for a firm that does pro bono work. I can make a call. Pro bono means free, right? Trigger asked. Means free, Sal said. And they are good. Real good. Duke nodded. Make the call. That afternoon, a young woman named Rosa showed up at the diner. She carried a worn leather briefcase and moved like she had somewhere important to be. She shook Duke's hand firmly and looked him in the eye. I heard what they're trying to do, she said. It's not right, and I think we can stop it. She spread papers across the counter. She talked about zoning laws and historical designations and permits. Lena did not understand all of it. But she understood hope. It was alive in the room. It was in the way Duke's shoulders relaxed just a little. By sunset, they had a plan. Duke looked at the storage room. It was dusty and cramped. But it had a window that caught the evening light. He pulled Lena aside. You and Sam are not sleeping in that van tonight, he said. Not ever again. Lena shook her head. We can't just stay here. It's not a home. It is now, Duke said. He spent the evening moving boxes. Trigger brought in a cot and a small dresser. Someone else found curtains and a lamp. Rosa supplied blankets from her own car trunk. By nightfall, the storage room looked almost cozy. Sam stood in the middle of it, spinning in a slow circle, his eyes wide. This is our room? He asked. This is your room, Duke said. Sam ran to the cot and jumped on it. He laughed and rolled around in the blankets. Lena watched him. Her throat felt tight. That night, after Sam fell asleep, Lena sat on the edge of the cot. The lamp cast a soft golden glow. She looked at her brother. His face was peaceful. His chest rose and fell with quiet breaths. Lena bowed her head. She had not prayed in years. She was not even sure she knew how anymore. But she whispered anyway, "Just let us stay." The morning came with a knock on the diner door. Not a biker knock, not a customer knock. This one was soft and polite, like someone was asking permission just to breathe. Lena opened the door to find a woman holding a small camera and a notebook. She had kind eyes and a badge that said Channel 8 News. "Are you the girl who helped save this place?" the woman asked. Lena blinked. "I didn't save anything." The woman smiled. "That is not what people are saying. My name is Carol. I heard about the eviction notice. I heard about the families who eat here. And I heard about a 17-year-old girl who lived in a van with her little brother." Lena's heart stopped. Her hand gripped the doorframe. "Who told you that?" Carol did not flinch. "People talk, and people care. I want to tell your story, if you let me." Duke appeared behind Lena. His voice was soft but firm. "You do not have to do this. It is your choice." Lena thought about the dark nights, the empty stomachs, the cold metal floor of the van. She thought about Sam and how he never complained. Not once. She opened the door wider. "Okay." Carol set up her camera in the corner booth. She asked Lena to sit by the window. The morning light caught her face in a gentle way. "Tell me everything," Carol said. "From the beginning." Lena took a deep breath. Her voice trembled at first, but the words came. They came like a river that had been dammed up for too long. She talked about the van, the dumpsters, the bread that was hard as rocks, and the milk that was almost sour. She talked about Sam's nightmares and how she sang to him until he fell back asleep. She talked about the night Duke found her and did not turn her away. "He could have called the police," Lena said. "He could have shooed me off like a stray dog. But he did not. He filled a cart with food and told me my shift started now." Carol's eyes glistened. "What did that mean to you?" Lena swallowed hard, her lips pressed together. She looked down at her hands, then back at the camera. "It meant someone saw me, really saw me, like I mattered. For the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I was not invisible." The tears came then. They rolled down her cheeks. She did not try to stop them. "I do not know what happens next," she said. "But I know I will not go back to that van, not without a fight." Carol turned off the camera. She reached across the table and squeezed Lena's hand. "Thank you," Carol said. "You are brave. Braver than most adults I have met." That evening the segment aired. Lena watched it from the storage room with Sam. He curled up beside her on the cot, his head on her shoulder. "There you are," Sam said, pointing at the screen. Lena laughed. It was a watery laugh. "Yep, there I am." The phone started ringing before the segment even ended. Then the diner line started ringing. Then Duke's phone. Then Trigger's. Donations poured in from everywhere. Canned goods. Rice, pasta, a box of toys for Sam. A check for $500 from a grandmother who said she had been homeless once too. By morning, the diner was stocked. The shelves were full. The fridge hummed with fresh milk and eggs. People lined up around the block, not just to eat but to help. Duke stood behind the counter, a rare smile on his face. "We did it, kid," he said to Lena. She shook her head. "No, we did it." The joy lasted 2 days. On the third day, Hartley showed up again. This time, he did not smile. His polished shoes clicked against the tile, but the click had no swagger. "Let's talk," he said. Duke crossed his arms. We are talking. Hartley pulled out a folder. There is a smaller lot across town. Nothing fancy, but it can hold your operation. I will even throw in 6 months of rent for free. Consider it a peace offering. Lena stepped forward. Her eyes narrowed. A peace offering? You mean a way to shut us up? Hartley ignored her. He kept his eyes on Duke. Take the deal. Save yourself the court costs. Save yourself the headache. Duke stood still for a long moment. His voice came out low and calm. This is where we help people. No compromise. Hartley's jaw tightened. You are making a mistake. No, Duke said. I am finally doing something right. Hartley left without another word. The door banged behind him. Lena felt a surge of pride. She walked over and hugged Duke. He did not hug back, but he did not pull away either. You did good, she said. I did what was right. That night, Lena felt lighter than she had in years. She helped Sam into his pajamas. She tucked the blanket under his chin. She kissed his forehead. Then, she saw it, an envelope on the dresser. It had been slipped under the door sometime during the day. Her name was typed on the front. Official looking. A return address from the Department of Family Services. Lena's hands went cold. She opened it slowly. The letter was short. Formal, the words blurred as she read them. They needed to interview her. About her mother's death, about the years she had spent out of the system. About Sam. Case review, the letter called it. Lena felt the floor tilt. Her old world came crashing in. It was a wave, dark and cold, pulling her under. She looked at Sam. He was already asleep. His face was peaceful. She folded the letter and hid it in her pocket. He could not see her cry. Not again. The cot creaked when Lena rolled over. She had not heard the springs complain like that before. She opened her eyes and saw light. Soft, golden light. It came through a small window above her head. Dawn light. The kind that promised a good day. She blinked. She remembered falling asleep on a pile of coats in the storage room. But this was not the storage room. This was a real bed. Well, a cot. But it had a pillow and a blanket that smelled like soap, not exhaust. She pushed herself up on her elbows. Her eyes scanned the room. It was small, maybe 10 feet wide. There was a wooden chair in the corner with a stack of folded clothes, a lamp on a crate, and on the floor, a little mat with Sam's shoes lined up neat and tidy. Sam lay beside her, still asleep. His mouth was open a little, his arms wrapped around the dinosaur book Duke had given him. The one with the bright green T-Rex on the cover. His chest rose and fell in a gentle rhythm. Lena touched his hair. He stirred, but did not wake. Voices came from the kitchen, low and steady. She recognized one right away. Duke, the other was a heavy rumble. Trigger. She slipped out of the cot and padded barefoot to the door. She left it open a crack and listened. Fuel for the truck, Duke said. We need to make the rounds before the sun gets too hot. Trigger grunted. Same route as last Tuesday? Same route. But we pick up the pallets from Miller's first. He said the bread shipment got a dented box. Still good, just ugly. Any word from the county? A pause. Lena held her breath. Not yet, Duke said. But we keep moving. We do not stop just because someone wants to scare us. We never have, Trigger said. Exactly, and we will not start now. Scraping sounds. Coffee being poured, the hiss of the old percolator. Lena pulled back from the door. She looked around the room again. It was not much, but it was something. 4 walls, a roof, a door that locked. She thought about the van, the rusted floor, the windows that fogged up in the cold, the way she had to count the seconds between car lights passing to make sure no one saw them. This was different. This was real shelter. She walked back to the cot and sat down beside Sam. She picked up the dinosaur book and opened it. The pages were worn. Sam had read it so many times. There was a crayon drawing on the back cover. A purple dinosaur with a green sun and a blue sky. Underneath, in Sam's wobbly letters, were the words, Sam and Lena and Duke. Lena's throat tightened. She pressed the book to her chest for a moment. The kitchen door swung open. Duke stepped in. He saw her sitting there, and his face softened. He set down a plate with 2 pancakes and a small glass of orange juice. "You are awake," he said. She nodded. "There is a bathroom down the hall. Clean towels in the cabinet. You can take your time." "Thank you," she said. Her voice came out quiet. Duke sat on the chair across from her. He rested his big hands on his knees. He looked at the cot, then at Sam, then at her. "I know this is not fancy," he said, "but it is safe. It is warm. And it is yours for as long as you need it." Lena swallowed. "Duke, what is this place really?" He tilted his head. "A diner." "No, I mean, yes, it is a diner. But it is more than that. People come here. Families. You feed them. You give them clothes. I have seen it. What is this?" Duke was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the floor, then back at her. His voice was low. "This diner, it is a cover. The club runs a shelter out of the back rooms in the basement. Families who have nowhere else to go. People like you and Sam. We keep it off the books. No papers, no forms, no questions." Lena's eyes widened. "You hide people?" "We help people," he said. "Some of them have records. Some of them are just scared. Some of them lost everything and do not know how to ask for help, so we provide. Food, beds, a little bit of hope." He leaned forward. "I need you to understand something, Lena. This has to stay a secret. If the wrong people find out, hearts get broken. Doors get locked. Kids go back to the street. Do you understand?" She looked at Sam. His little hand rested on the book. His face was peaceful. She turned back to Duke. "I understand." He nodded. "Good, you can stay. You can help. You can be part of this." A spark lit inside her. Small, but steady. Like the pilot light on an old stove. It flickered in her chest and warmed her from the inside out. "I want to help," she said. Duke smiled. Really smiled. It reached his eyes. "Your shift starts in 20 minutes. She smiled back. It was a real smile. The kind that had been buried under years of fear and hunger. "I will be ready." The next morning came before the sun. Lena woke to the sound of rain tapping on the window. She sat up and looked at Sam. He was still asleep, his dinosaur book hugged tight against his chest. She slipped out of the cot and pulled on the clothes Duke had left for her. Jeans that fit. A soft flannel shirt. Older, but clean. She ran her fingers through her hair and tied it back with a piece of string she found in her pocket. The kitchen was quiet. A single light glowed over the stove. Duke was not there yet. But the coffee was already made. Steam curled up from the pot. Lena stood still for a moment. She did not know what to do. She had never woken up in a place that felt like this. Not since her mother died. She found a bin of potatoes under the counter. She found a knife. And she started chopping. By the time Trigger walked in, she had filled a big pot with diced potatoes and onions. She had wiped down the counters. She had stacked the clean mugs in neat rows. Trigger stopped in the doorway. He stared at her, then at the pot. "Well, look at that," he said. His voice was a low rumble, like an old engine. "Someone actually knows what a potato looks like." Lena shrugged. "I cook for my brother. We had a camp stove. Not fancy, but it worked." Trigger walked over and peeked into the pot. He nodded. "You cut them even. That is a skill. Most folks rush and make a mess. Rushing makes mistakes," she said. "Mistakes cost food." He looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn bandana. "Here, tie this around your head. Keeps the hair out of the food." She took it. "Thanks, your sister's name is Lena, right?" "Duke told me. I am Trigger. I fix the bikes. I fix the van. I fix the pipes when they leak. I am the guy who shows up with a wrench and a grumble." Lena smiled. "Nice to meet you, Trigger. Same kid, same. Breakfast started at 7. The families came through the back door, one by one. A mother with 2 toddlers, an older man with a limp, a young couple holding hands, looking nervous. Lena moved through the room like she had been doing this for years. She filled plates, she poured orange juice, she wiped tables with a damp rag. She whispered the word "second breakfast" to a little girl who held up an empty plate with big, hopeful eyes. The girl's mother started to apologize. Lena shook her head. "She can have as much as she wants," Lena said. "There is plenty." The mother blinked. Her eyes got wet. She mouthed the words, "Thank you." Lena nodded and moved on. After breakfast, a man in a leather vest walked in carrying a cardboard box. He set it on the counter. Duke followed behind him. "Duke," the man said, "got a delivery from the church on 5th. Canned goods, some cereal, a bag of rice." Duke patted him on the arm. "Good work, Charlie." Charlie nodded at Lena. "You are the new one, huh?" "I guess so." "Good. We could use a hard worker around here." He walked out without another word. Lena looked at the box. Inside were cans of soup, cans of corn, a jar of peanut butter, and a box of macaroni. Duke gestured to a door at the back of the kitchen. "Come, I want to show you something." She followed him through the door and down a short hallway. He opened a narrow closet. Inside, the shelves were packed. Rows and rows of cans, bags of beans, rice, pasta, jars of sauce, a basket of apples. "This is the pantry," Duke said. "People donate. We organize. We keep it ready for when families need a bag to take home." Lena's eyes moved over the shelves. Her throat felt tight. She had spent so many nights hungry, so many nights counting the last few coins in her pocket. She never dreamed a place like this existed. "We sort everything by date," Duke said. "Oldest in front, so nothing goes bad." "I can do that," she said. He handed her a marker. "I know you can." Sam woke up around 8. He padded into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. He saw Lena and ran to her. "Sam, come here," she said. She picked him up and set him on a stool. "You want to help me sort cans?" He nodded hard. "I can do it. I am good at sorting." "I know you are." They worked together for an hour. Sam put the cans in stacks by color, red labels in one stack, green labels in another. He sang a little song while he worked, something about a dinosaur who liked soup. Trigger walked by and stopped. He watched Sam for a moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small toy truck. "Found this outside," he said, holding it out. "Guess it needs a home." Sam's eyes went wide. He took the truck gently, like it was made of glass. "Wow, thank you, Trigger," Trigger grunted. He walked away, but Lena saw the corner of his mouth turn up. The other men came in slowly, a tall one called Doc, a short one called Rabbit. They all nodded at her. They all said the same thing. "Glad you are here, kid." It was small, but it filled her chest, like a hand reaching in and patting her heart. Lunch came around noon. The diner was quiet. The families had gone. Sam was asleep on the cot in the back room, the toy truck tucked under his arm. Lena sat at a table near the window. She watched the rain run down the glass in thin rivers. Duke walked over and sat down across from her. He had a big leather book in his hands. "What is that?" she asked. "This," he said, "is our ledger." He opened it. The pages were yellow and worn. Columns of names ran down each one. Dates, notes. Some pages were so full they spilled into the margins. "Every person we have helped since we started," Duke said. "We keep track. Not for the government, for us. So we remember." Lena leaned in. She ran her finger across the names. Some had little marks next to them. A check mark. A star. A tiny drawing of a heart. "The hearts mean they stayed with us for a while," Duke said. "They became family for a time." He turned a page. His finger moved down the column. It stopped halfway. "See this one?" Lena looked. The name printed in careful letters was Maggie. Next to it, in the same handwriting but a different color, someone had drawn a small heart. A little lopsided, but real. Lena's breath caught. Her eyes widened. Her fingers touched the page right over the name. "Maggie," she whispered. "That was my mother's name." Duke went very still. His hand rested on the table. His face was unreadable for a long moment. "Your mother," he repeated slowly. Lena nodded. Her eyes stayed locked on the page. "Maggie, Margaret Mary. Everyone called her Maggie." Duke did not look away from her. She saw something move behind his eyes, something deep and old, a door that had been closed a long time, creaking open in the dark. He said nothing, just stared at the name, and Lena, for the first time since she met him, saw Duke look lost. Lena's finger stayed on the name. Her heart pounded hard in her chest. "Maggie," she said again. "That was my mom." Duke sat very still. His big hands rested on the table. His eyes stayed on the page. "Was?" he asked softly. Lena swallowed. "She died. About a year ago. It was a car accident. She was coming home from work." Her voice cracked. "The police told me. They said she went fast, that she did not feel anything." Duke closed his eyes. His jaw tightened. For a long moment, he did not speak. Then he reached into the inner pocket of his leather cut. He pulled out a small photograph, old and faded. The edges were curled from years of being held. He set it on the table between them. Lena looked down. The photo was black and white. A young woman stood in front of a brick wall. She had dark hair, dark eyes, and a gentle smile. In her arms, she held a baby wrapped in a white blanket. The woman looked exactly like Lena. Same face, same eyes, same way of tilting her head just a little to the side. Lena's hands started to shake. "Who is this?" Duke's voice was low and rough. Her name was Maggie, too. Lena looked up. "What do you mean?" "Your grandmother," Duke said. "Your mother's mother." Lena stared at him. The words did not make sense. She had never known her grandmother. Her mother never talked about her family. The only stories Lena knew were about being on the run, hiding, staying safe. "I do not understand," she said. "I never had a grandmother." Duke looked down at the photo. His thumb brushed over the edge. "Maggie was raised in this shelter," he said. "Before it was a shelter, it was a house. A place for kids who had nowhere else to go. I was one of them. Lena's eyes went wide. We grew up together, Duke said. Me and Maggie, we were not related by blood. But we were like siblings. We shared beds. We shared meals. We shared our dreams. His voice got softer. She was the best of us. She had a light inside her. Even on the darkest days, she found a way to smile. Lena looked at the photo again. The woman in the picture looked happy. Safe, loved. I did not know she existed, Lena whispered. My mom never said anything. Duke nodded slowly. Maggie left when she was 16. She got into trouble. She had to go. I tried to find her. I looked for years. But she had gone off the grid. She did not want to be found. Lena thought about her mother. The way she always looked over her shoulder. The way she never stayed in one place for too long. The way she whispered about staying safe, staying hidden. She was running, Lena said. Just like me. Duke met her eyes. Yes, tears filled Lena's eyes. She blinked them back. So you knew my mom? When she was little? I knew her when she was a baby, Duke said. Just like this photo. I held her in my arms. I sang her songs when she cried. I watched her take her first steps. His voice broke. And then she was gone. Just like that. I spent years looking for her, and when she died, I found out too late. I could not help her. Lena's chest felt tight. How did you know? About my mom? Word travels in certain circles, Duke said. I heard about a woman named Maggie who died in a car accident. She had 2 kids, a girl and a boy. No known family. He paused. I have been searching for you and Sam for over a year. Lena's breath caught. You were looking for us? Every day, Duke said. I checked shelters. I checked schools. I asked around. I was starting to lose hope. He looked at her. And then, you showed up at the dumpster. With your brother. Needing food. Lena felt the floor tilt under her. The room spun. She stood up so fast the chair scraped against the tile. I need air, she said. She turned and ran. She pushed through the back door and out into the rain. Cold drops hit her face. She kept running until she was behind the dumpster, leaning against the wall, gasping for breath. The photo stayed on the table. The door stood open behind her. But she did not go back inside. The rain kept falling. Lena walked without knowing where she was going. Her feet moved on their own, carrying her past closed shops and dark windows. The street lights made yellow pools on the wet sidewalk. She stepped through each one like they were doors into another world. Her mind would not slow down. Duke knew her mother. He held her when she was a baby. He sang to her. And her mother never said a word. Not once. Lena thought about all the nights in the van, all the times her mother whispered stories about growing up. The stories always started the same way. We moved around a lot, or we did not have much. But she never talked about family. She never talked about a home. Now Lena understood why. Her mother was running from something, just like Lena was running now. She rounded the corner and found herself back near the diner. But she could not go inside. Not yet. She leaned against a lamppost and let the rain soak through her thin jacket. Lena. She turned. Sam was running toward her. His little sneakers splashed through puddles. His face was red from the cold. Sam, what are you doing out here? She asked. He threw his arms around her waist. His small body shook. I was scared. You ran away. Lena bent down and hugged him tight. I am okay. I just needed a minute. Sam pulled back and looked at her face. You are crying. It is rain, she said. It is tears too, he said. I can tell. Lena let out a shaky breath. She took his hand and led him to the curb. They sat down together, the wet concrete soaked through her jeans, but she did not care. Sam leaned his head against her shoulder. "Why are you sad?" Lena watched a car pass by. Its headlights cut through the rain. "I found out something," she said slowly, "about Mommy, about her family." Sam looked up. "We do not have family." "Maybe we do," Lena said. "Duke, he knew Mommy. He said he grew up with her, at the shelter, like siblings. So he is our uncle?" Lena shook her head. "I do not know. He said they were not related by blood. But maybe they were. I do not understand it all." She paused. "He might be our mom's brother, a half-brother, from a different family." Sam was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. "He gave us bread," he said simply. Lena looked at him. "What?" "He gave us bread. And cereal. And dinosaur nuggets." Sam smiled. "That is what family does. Family gives you food when you are hungry." Lena's eyes filled with tears again, but this time she let them fall. "You are too smart for your age," she whispered. Sam shrugged. "You taught me." She pulled him close and kissed the top of his head. The rain kept falling around them, but she felt warm inside. Sam always knew what to say. He saw the world in simple ways, ways that cut through all the noise and the fear and the confusion. Duke gave them bread. That made him family. Maybe it was that simple. Lena wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She stood up and helped Sam to his feet. "Come on," she said. "Let us go talk to him." They walked back to the diner together. The neon sign buzzed softly in the rain. The windows glowed warm and yellow. Duke stood outside. He was leaning against the wall. His leather cut was dark with water. He held the photograph in his hands. He had been waiting for her. Lena stopped a few feet away. Sam stayed close to her side. The rain made a soft drum sound on the awning above them. Lena looked at Duke. She looked at his face. The same dark eyes. The same strong jaw. She saw her mother in him. She saw herself. "Are you my mother's brother?" she asked. Duke's shoulders dropped. His eyes softened. He looked at her for a long time. "Yes," he said. "I was your mother's half-brother. Same father. Different mothers. We did not know each other as kids. We met when we were teenagers, here at the shelter." He took a step closer. "I did not tell you earlier because I was afraid. I thought if you knew you would run. I wanted to earn your trust first." Lena felt Sam squeeze her hand. She looked at Duke, at the man who had filled her cart, who had fed her brother, who had given them a place to sleep. "Why would I run?" she asked softly. Duke's voice cracked. "Because I have been looking for you for a year. Because I failed your mother, and I was scared I would fail you too." The rain fell harder now, drumming against the awning like a heartbeat. Duke looked down at the photograph in his hands. His thumb traced the edge of it. The picture was creased and worn. It had been folded and unfolded 1,000 times. "Your mother's name was Maggie," he said. His voice was rough, like gravel. "She was 16 when she came to the shelter. Scared, hungry, pregnant with you." Lena felt her chest tighten. "Pregnant with me?" Duke nodded. "She ran away from home. Her stepfather was a bad man. He hurt her mother too. So she ran. She packed a bag and left in the middle of the night. She never went back." He paused. "I was already riding with the club then. I was 22. I had been on my own for years. But I knew Maggie's father. My father, the man who helped bring us both into this world. He was not a good man either." Lena stepped closer. Sam stayed pressed against her side. I met Maggie at the shelter, Duke continued. She was quiet. Distrustful, she reminded me of a stray cat, the kind that hisses at everyone. But underneath all that, she was soft. She was good. He looked up at Lena. I promised her something. I told her I would find her someday. That I would make sure she was safe. I gave her a place to stay for a while, helped her get on her feet. But she was proud. She did not want my help. She said she had to do it alone. Lena swallowed hard. Did she ever come back? Duke shook his head. No, she vanished. I looked for her for years. I put out feelers in every community I could. She changed her name, moved around. Never stayed in one place too long. His voice cracked. When I heard she died a year ago, it broke me. I should have been there. I should have protected her. But I was too late. So you started looking for us, Lena said softly. Duke nodded. I put the word out. I told people to watch for a young girl and a little boy. I knew she had kids. I just did not know where you were. He took a slow breath. It took me 6 months to find you. You were smart. You never used your real names. You moved at night. You stayed hidden. But I found out where you parked. I watched you for a week before I made my move. Lena's eyes widened. The dumpster. You planned that. Duke smiled a sad smile. I did. I saw you near the convenience store. You were hungry. You were looking for food. I knew if I just walked up to you, you would run. So I gave you the cart. I gave you the food. I got your trust. Why? Lena asked. Her voice was barely a whisper. Because I wanted to tell you the truth, Duke said. But I was scared. Scared you would hate me. Scared you would think I was just like the man who hurt your mother. Scared you would disappear again. He stepped closer. I have spent 20 years carrying guilt. I do not want to carry it anymore. The diner door opened. Trigger poked his head out. Everything okay out here? Duke held up a hand. Give us a minute. Trigger nodded and ducked back inside. Lena looked at Duke. She saw the lines on his face, the gray in his beard, the wet leather of his cut. He was not a scary man. He was just a man who had failed, a man who was trying to make it right. Sam tugged on her sleeve. Lena? She looked down at him. I think we should hug him, Sam said. Lena felt her eyes sting. She looked at Duke. He looked back at her. His eyes were wet. She took a step forward, then another. Then she was in his arms. He wrapped them around her. He was so big, so warm. Sam squeezed in between them. His little arms wrapped around both of them. Duke held them tight. His chest shook. He whispered into Lena's hair. You are my family now. I am not letting you go again. Lena pressed her face into his leather cut. She felt safe for the first time in a long time. Safe and warm and not alone. A car with darkened windows rolled past the diner. It moved slowly. The rain splashed against its roof. The window slid down for just a moment. A man inside raised a small camera. The flash blinked once. Then, the window rolled up, and the car disappeared into the night. The next morning, sunlight came through the diner windows. It was the kind of light that made everything look new. Last night's rain had washed the streets clean. The tables were wiped down. Coffee was brewing. A few families sat in the booths, eating eggs and toast. Lena was drying glasses behind the counter. Sam was perched on a stool, flipping through his dinosaur book. He pointed at a picture of a T-Rex. This one had teeth as big as bananas, he said. Lena smiled. That is a very big banana. Duke was at the register. He looked calm. He looked like a man who had found his place in the world. The bell above the door rang. A man walked in. He wore a suit that looked like it cost more than the diner's entire kitchen. His shoes were polished so bright they caught the light. His hair was combed back. He carried a leather briefcase. He paused at the door and looked around. His eyes moved over the families, the bikers, the steam rising from the coffee cups. He did not smile. He just studied everything like he was reading a report. Duke straightened up. "Help you?" he said. The man walked to the counter. He set his briefcase down and opened it. He pulled out a stack of papers. "My name is Mr. Hartley," he said. "I represent a development group. We are looking to build a shopping center on this block." He slid a paper across the counter. Duke looked at it but did not touch it. "This is an offer, Misty," Hartley said. "A very generous one. We would like to buy this lot." Duke crossed his arms. "This place is not for sale." "Mr." Hartley smiled. It was a thin smile. "I understand. It is a big decision. But this offer is 3 times what the property is worth." "I do not care what it is worth," Duke said. "I care what it is. This is a shelter. It is a home for people who have nothing." Mr. Hartley looked around again. He saw the families eating. He saw the children with full plates. He saw the bikers in their leather cuts serving breakfast. "Very noble," he said. "But the world moves on. Progress happens. You cannot stop it by serving pancakes." Lena felt her stomach twist. She stepped closer to Sam. "The answer is no," Duke said again. "Mr." Hartley picked up the paper. He slid it back into his briefcase. His face did not change. It stayed smooth and calm. "I will be back with a better offer," he said. "Or a court order. We will see." He turned. His shoes clicked on the floor as he walked to the door. The bell rang once more. Then he was gone. The diner went quiet. The laughter died. A woman at a booth held her fork frozen over her plate. Duke stared at the door for a long moment. Then he let out a slow breath. Trigger walked over from the kitchen. His face was heavy. "That man is trouble," Trigger said. Duke nodded. "I know." The rest of the morning passed in a fog. Lena tried to work. She poured coffee. She cleared plates. She wiped tables. But her mind kept going back to the man in the suit. The way he looked at the diner like it was already gone. By the time the lunch rush ended, Duke was quiet. He moved through the diner like a big shadow. He did not laugh. He did not tease Sam. He just worked. When the last customer left, Duke locked the front door. He flipped the sign to closed. "Meeting," he said. Back room. The club gathered around the long table in the back. Trigger sat at Duke's right. The other men filled the chairs. Lena stood by the door. Sam sat in the corner with his dinosaur book, humming softly to himself. Duke leaned on the table. His hands were flat on the wood. "We have a problem," he said. Trigger nodded. "I know who that was. Hartley, he has been buying up blocks all over town. He does not care about people. He only cares about money. He wants this lot," Duke said. "He wants this diner." Trigger rubbed the back of his neck. "I have heard things about him. He has ties to city officials. He has friends in the zoning office. In the health department, too." One of the men frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means he can make life very hard," Trigger said. "Very fast. He could call in favors, have inspectors here every day, find violations that were never there, fine us until we cannot pay." The men started talking all at once. Angry voices, loud words. Someone slammed a fist on the table. Duke held up his hand. The room went quiet. "I will not let him take this place," Duke said. His voice was low, but strong. "This diner feeds families. It keeps kids warm. It gives people hope. I will fight before I let him tear it down." The men nodded. They murmured their agreement. But Lena saw something else. She saw the lines on Duke's face. She saw the way his hands pressed hard against the table, like he was holding himself together. Trigger spoke again. His voice was quieter now. "Duke, if Hartley has city ties, he could force the shelter to close. Legally, through permits and paperwork. He does not have to win a fight. He just has to outlast us." The room went still. Lena looked at Sam. He was still humming, turning the pages of his book. He did not understand what was happening. He did not know that the man in the suit was a storm on the horizon. She thought about the van, the cold nights, the hunger, the fear of being found. And she felt something cold settle in her chest, a growing sense of dread, like a shadow crawling across the floor toward her feet. That night, Lena could not sleep. She lay on the cot in the back room, staring at the ceiling. Sam was asleep beside her, his dinosaur book tucked under his arm. His breathing was soft and steady, but Lena's mind would not stop. She thought about Mr. Hartley, the way he looked at the diner like it was already gone, the way he talked about progress like people did not matter. She thought about the families who came here, the kids who got their first warm meal in days, the mothers who cried in the bathroom because someone finally helped them. She could not let that go. In the morning, she found Duke in the kitchen. He was alone, staring at a cup of coffee. The steam rose and disappeared. He looked tired. "Duke," she said. He looked up. "You are up early. I have an idea." He raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Lena sat across from him. She folded her hands on the table. "You said Hartley wants to tear this place down," she said. "He wants to build something new. Something shiny, but he does not know what this place really is." Duke nodded slowly. "Go on. We need to show him," Lena said. "We need to show the whole town. We need to show them what this diner means, what it does for people." She pulled a piece of paper from her pocket. She had written on it in neat handwriting. "A list of ideas. A block party," she said. "We close off the street. We set up tables outside. We serve food to everyone who comes. We have games for the kids. Music, we invite the whole community." Duke leaned back in his chair. He studied her face. "You think a party will change his mind?" "I think it will change the town's mind," Lena said. "And if the town loves this place enough, it will be hard for him to tear it down. People will fight for what they love. They just need to know what they are fighting for." Duke was quiet for a long moment. Then a small smile crept across his face. "You are something else," he said. "Is that a yes?" He nodded. "That is a yes." Lena felt a rush of warmth in her chest. She smiled. It was a real smile, one she had not felt in a long time. "Good," she said, "because I already made a list." She pulled out another paper. It was covered in names and notes. "There is a reporter," she said. "I saw her at the grocery store last week. She was buying coffee and taking notes. Her name is Maria. She works for the local news station. She seems like she cares about real stories." Duke nodded. "I know her. She has done a piece on the shelter before. She is fair." "She could help," Lena said. "If she covers the party, the whole town will see what we are doing. The whole town will know what is at stake." Duke took the paper. He read through her notes. His eyes moved slowly over the pages. "Invitations," he said. Food, music, games, a bouncy castle. Sam asked for a bouncy castle, Lena said. Duke chuckled. Then we get a bouncy castle. Over the next few days, the diner became a flurry of activity. Trigger built a stage out of old pallets. The other men painted signs. Lena made phone calls. She talked to the bakery down the street. They donated bread. She talked to a farmer on the edge of town. He donated vegetables. Duke handled the permits. He knew the right people. He had been feeding them for years. Sam helped too. He sorted cans in the back room. He drew pictures of dinosaurs and taped them to the walls. He told everyone the party was going to be the best day ever. Lena smiled at that. She hoped he was right. Late one night, Lena was in the small storage closet near the kitchen. She was digging through boxes of decorations, streamers, balloons, old tablecloths. She wanted to find more. She pushed a box aside. Behind it was an old wooden crate. It was dusty. It had not been moved in years. She pulled it out. The lid creaked when she opened it. Inside were old papers, receipts, letters, photographs, a lifetime of things someone had forgotten. She lifted out a yellowed envelope. Inside was a birth certificate. The paper was faded, but the words were clear. Name, Margaret Ann Miller. Date of birth. Place of birth. Mother, Eleanor Miller. Father, James Edward Miller. Lena frowned. Margaret. That was her mother's name. Maggie. She looked closer. And then she saw the line at the bottom. The father's name was crossed out. Someone had drawn a line through it. But underneath, in careful handwriting, another name had been written. James Edward Miller. No, she blinked. The letters did not change. Her mother's father was James Edward Miller. But everyone called him Duke. Lena's hand started to shake. She read the paper again. And again. Her mind tried to make sense of it. Duke was not just a man who helped her. He was not just a stranger who fed her. He was her grandfather. The paper slipped from her fingers. It floated down and landed on the floor. Lena stared at it. Her breath came fast. Her heart pounded in her chest. She whispered the word, grandfather. The sound echoed in the empty closet. It did not make sense. It could not be true. But there it was, written in ink. The truth she had never known. She dropped to her knees and picked up the paper. Her fingers traced the name. James Edward Miller. Duke, she gasped. The sound was sharp and loud in the quiet room. Lena stood in the doorway of the kitchen, the birth certificate clutched in her hand. Duke was still at the table. His coffee had gone cold. He looked up when she walked in, and something in her face made him go still. Lena, he said, you look like you have seen a ghost. She held up the paper. Her hand was shaking. What is this? Duke's eyes dropped to the paper. He did not even have to read it. He knew what it was. His face went pale. His mouth opened, but no words came out. This is my mother's birth certificate, Lena said. Her voice was low and tight. It has a name on it, under father, a name someone crossed out, and underneath that, they wrote yours. Duke stared at her. His hands gripped the edge of the table. His knuckles went white. James Edward Miller, Lena said. Her voice cracked. That is you. Is not it? Duke was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded, a slow, heavy nod, like the weight of the world was on his neck. Yes, he said. That is me. Lena felt the air leave her lungs. She stepped back like she had been pushed. You are my grandfather, she whispered. All this time, you knew. You knew who we were. Duke stood up. He moved toward her slowly, like she was a deer that might run. "Lena, let me explain." "Explain what?" she shouted. Her voice echoed off the kitchen walls. "Explain how you let us eat trash from a dumpster? How you watched us hide in a van?" "You knew. You knew all along." "Lena, please." Duke's voice was rough. His eyes were wet. "I did not know what to do. I did not know how to tell you." "Tell me the truth," she said. "That is how. You start with the truth." Duke took a breath. He looked older than he ever had. The leather cut on his shoulders seemed heavier. "I was young," he said, "too young to be a father. I loved your grandmother. I loved her more than anything. But I was wild. I made bad choices. I was in and out of trouble. When your mother was born, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be a dad. But the system did not see it that way. They saw a biker. They saw a risk. They took her from me." Lena shook her head. "So you just let them?" "No," Duke said. His voice broke. "I fought. I fought for years. But I lost. They gave her to a family that could give her a stable home. And I was not stable. I was a mess. So I stayed away. I thought it was better for her. I thought she was better off without me. But you found her," Lena said. "You found her when she grew up." Duke nodded. Tears ran down his cheeks. He did not wipe them away. "She came looking for me when she was 18. She had questions. I answered them. I tried to make up for lost time. We had a few years. Good years. She was so much like her mother. Stubborn, brave, beautiful. Lena felt her eyes burn. She never told me. She did not know," Duke said. "I asked her not to tell you. I was ashamed. I wanted to be a grandfather to you kids. I wanted to earn it. But I was scared you would see me for what I was. A failure. A man who lost his daughter. You have been lying to us," Lena said. Her voice was shaking now. Every day, every meal, every kind word. It was all a lie. "No," Duke said. "No, it was not. The food was real. The shelter was real. I built it for her. For Maggie. I built it because I could not save her. But I could save other kids. Kids like you." Lena felt the paper crumple in her fist. Her heart was breaking. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to fall into his arms and let him hold her. But the pain was too sharp. The betrayal too deep. "You should have told me," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You should have told me the truth. You let me trust you. You let Sam love you. And you hid who you really were." Duke fell to his knees. The kitchen floor was old and worn. He did not care. He looked up at her with tears streaming down his face. "I am sorry," he said. His voice was raw. "I am so sorry. I did not know how to say it. I did not think I deserved to say it. Please, Lena, please forgive me." Sam appeared in the doorway. He was holding his dinosaur book. His eyes were wide and scared. "Lena? What is happening?" Lena looked at her brother. His little face was full of confusion. And then she looked back at Duke. The man on his knees. The man who was her grandfather. The man who had lied to her. She grabbed Sam's hand. "We are leaving," she said. Duke reached out. "Lena, please, do not go. You have nowhere to go. Please." But she did not stop. She pulled Sam through the kitchen, past the tables, past the sign that said "Welcome Home." She pushed open the door and stepped into the cold morning air. Sam was crying now. She held his hand tighter. "Lena," he sobbed. "Where are we going?" She did not have an answer. She just kept walking. The diner got smaller behind them. Duke's voice faded into the distance, and for the first time since she had arrived, Lena was completely alone. The morning air was cold and gray. Lena held Sam's hand as they walked down streets that looked the same as every other street they had ever walked. Shops closed. Cars passed. No one looked at them. No one ever looked at them. Sam sniffled. His little legs struggled to keep up. "Lena, my feet hurt. I know, buddy. We will find a place to rest soon." They walked for what felt like hours. Past the gas station where she used to steal bread. Past the park where they used to hide when the nights got too cold. Past the old laundromat with the broken dryer that blew warm air from the vent. She thought about stopping there. But the owner knew her face. He had chased her off before. Finally, she spotted a concrete parking garage. It was dark inside. Empty, a few cars sat in the corners, covered in dust. The air smelled like oil and old rubber. It was not warm, but it was out of the wind. She led Sam to a corner near a stairwell. She pulled off her jacket and laid it on the ground for him to sit on. Then she sat beside him and pulled him close. Sam pressed his face into her shoulder. "I am hungry." "I know," she whispered. "I know. We will figure something out." But she did not know. She had no money. No plan. No van. No Duke. The thought of him made her chest ache. She pushed it away. Sam was quiet for a while. Then he looked up at her with his big, tired eyes. "Lena," he said, "why did we leave?" She swallowed. "Because he lied to us, Sam. He hid who he was. He knew about Mom. He knew about us. And he did not tell us the truth." Sam thought about that. His little brow furrowed. "But he gave us bread," he said. "He gave us a place to sleep. He gave us a birthday party. Is not that enough?" Lena opened her mouth to answer. But no words came out. She looked at her brother. His face was so trusting, so open. He did not understand betrayal. He did not understand that kindness could be a mask. He could be a good man and still lie, she said softly. "I do not know what to think." Sam leaned his head against her arm. "I miss the dinosaur nuggets." Lena almost laughed. Almost instead, she hugged him tighter. The garage was silent. The only sound was the drip of water somewhere far away, and the soft rumble of cars passing on the street above. She closed her eyes. She thought about Duke on his knees, the tears on his face, the way his voice broke when he said her mother's name. She wanted to hate him. But hate was heavy. And she was already so tired. Sam drifted off to sleep. His breathing slowed. His little hand stayed wrapped around hers. Lena did not sleep. She could not. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the birth certificate, the crossed-out name, the answer she had been looking for her whole life, and now she did not know what to do with it. The hours passed. The light outside the garage changed from gray to pale yellow. She must have dozed off, because the next thing she knew, headlights were washing over the concrete walls. A car engine hummed, then stopped. Lena's eyes snapped open. Her heart slammed against her ribs. A police car idled at the entrance of the garage. The doors opened. 2 officers stepped out. One of them, a woman with short hair and a kind face, walked toward them slowly. Her boots echoed on the concrete. Sam stirred. He rubbed his eyes. "Lena? What is happening?" "Stay behind me," Lena whispered. Her throat was tight. Her hands were shaking. The officer stopped a few feet away. She looked at them. Her eyes were soft, but her voice was firm. "You two cannot sleep here," she said. "This is private property." Lena's mind raced. Social services, foster homes, being separated from Sam. She would rather run. She would rather disappear into the streets forever than let them take her brother. "We are not doing anything wrong," Lena said. Her voice came out harder than she meant. "We were just resting." The officer tilted her head. She studied Lena for a moment. Then she spoke again. "Listen, young lady. There is a man at the old diner on 6th Street. He has been calling every station in the county, saying he is your grandfather, saying you and your brother are missing. He wants to file a report." Lena's breath caught. She stared at the officer. The officer continued. "He described you both. Your age. Your brother's dinosaur book. He was pretty specific, and he would not stop calling until someone listened." Sam stepped out from behind Lena. His face lit up with hope. "It is Duke. He is looking for us." Lena did not say anything. Her mind was spinning. Duke had been calling. Duke had been searching. The man she had walked away from was not letting her go. The officer smiled gently. "You better come with me, young lady. Let us get this sorted out." Lena looked at the police car. Then she looked at Sam. His eyes were bright. He was already reaching for the officer's hand. And somewhere deep inside her chest, a small, stubborn part of her heart cracked open. She took Sam's hand. And together, they walked toward the lights. The police car hummed along the streets. Lena sat in the back seat with Sam pressed against her side. The seat was warm. The windows were clean. It felt strange to be inside a car that was not her van. Sam kept looking out the window. He pointed at things. A red truck, a big dog, a balloon floating above a gas station. He did not seem scared. He seemed excited, like they were going on an adventure. Lena did not feel excited. Her stomach was tight. Her hands were cold. She did not know what waited for them at the diner. She did not know what she wanted to find there. The officer drove slow. She glanced at Lena in the rearview mirror every now and then. She did not ask questions. She just drove. Lena was grateful for that. They turned onto 6th Street. The old diner came into view. Its sign was still lit. The letters were faded, but they glowed warm against the gray afternoon. A few cars sat in the lot. The door was open. And there, standing outside, was Duke. He looked older. That was the first thing Lena noticed. His shoulders were slumped. His leather cut hung loose on him. His face was pale, carved with lines she had not seen before. He stood very still, like a statue waiting to crumble. The police car stopped. The officer turned off the engine. "Here we are," she said softly. Sam was already unbuckling. He pushed open the door and scrambled out. "Duke." Duke looked up. His eyes were red. When he saw Sam, something broke in his face. He dropped to one knee and opened his arms. Sam ran into them. Duke held him tight, his big hand cradling the back of Sam's head. He did not say anything. He just held him. Lena climbed out slowly. She stood by the car door. Her feet felt heavy, like they were full of stones. Duke looked at her over Sam's shoulder. His eyes were wet. He let go of Sam and stood up. He did not move toward her. He just stood there, waiting. The officer touched Lena's arm gently. "I will wait here until you are settled." She stepped back, giving them space. Sam ran to Lena and grabbed her hand. "Come on, Lena. Duke missed us." Lena did not move. She looked at Duke. The man who had fed them. The man who had sheltered them. The man who had hidden the truth. The man who carried her mother's face in his eyes. Duke swallowed hard. He took a step closer. Then another. He stopped a few feet away. He bowed his head. His voice came out rough and low, like gravel scraping stone. "I am sorry. I should have told you from the start. I just did not know how to say that I failed your mother, and I could not bear failing you too. I will do anything to earn your trust, even if it means letting you go." The words hung in the cold air. Lena's chest ached. She saw the tears on his cheeks. She saw the way his hands trembled at his sides. She saw a man who had carried a weight for so long it had bent his spine. She wanted to be angry. She wanted to hold on to the hurt. But she looked at Sam, who was beaming up at Duke like he was the sun. She looked at Duke, standing there with his head bowed, offering no excuses. Only the truth. And she remembered the bread. The full cart, the dinosaur nuggets, the birthday party. The way he had gently tucked Sam in at night. The way he had looked at her mother's picture with so much love and so much sorrow. He was not a perfect man. He was a man who had made mistakes. Big ones. But he had also shown up. He had searched for them. He had called every station in the county. Lena's eyes burned. She blinked. Then slowly, she walked forward. The distance felt like miles. Every step was a choice. Every step was a small letting go. She stopped in front of him. He raised his head. His eyes were wet and hopeful and terrified all at once. She reached out and took his hand. It was big and rough and warm. He did not squeeze. He just held on, like she was the one keeping him from falling. "You gave us bread when we were starving," she said. Her voice was quiet, but steady. "That is enough for now. Let's go inside." Duke let out a breath that shook his whole body. Tears spilled down his face. He did not try to hide them. He pulled her close, and then he wrapped his arms around her and around Sam, who hugged both of them. Lena stiffened at first. She was not used to being held. But then she felt Sam's little hand on her back, and Duke's strong arms around them both, and the cold inside her chest began to thaw. She pressed her face into Duke's shoulder. She did not cry. Not yet. But she closed her eyes, and for the first time in a very long time, she felt like she was home. The next morning, the diner smelled like coffee and bacon. Duke was in the back room, talking with a woman in a neat gray suit. She had kind eyes and a folder full of papers. Lena stood in the doorway, holding Sam's hand. Sam was already bouncing, pointing at the pie case. "Can we have pie for breakfast?" "After the meeting," Lena said. She squeezed his hand. Her heart was pounding. She had never been inside a lawyer's office. She had never filled out forms with her real name. Duke looked up. He smiled, but it was tight. "Come on in. This is Mrs. Alvarez. She is a lawyer from the church on Elm Street. She is going to help us make things official." Mrs. Alvarez stood and shook Lena's hand. Her handshake was warm. "I hear you have been taking care of your brother all by yourself. That is a big job." Lena nodded. She did not know what to say. They sat at the table. Mrs. Alvarez spread out papers. She explained each one slowly. Lena read them carefully. She had learned to read very well because she had to. Word by word, line by line, she thought. She signed her name. It felt strange and good. Then Duke signed his name. He wrote it slowly, pressing hard. When he was done, he looked at Lena. "It is not official until a judge says yes. But this is the first step. I will take care of you both. I promise." Sam climbed into his lap. "Does that mean we can stay?" Duke wrapped his arm around him. "It means we are working on forever." That afternoon, the club members moved a couch into the back room. They painted the walls a soft blue. Trigger hung a shelf and put a lamp on it. Another brother brought a small TV. A woman in the club's auxiliary sewed curtains for the window. Lena and Sam had a real room. It was small and warm and theirs. That night, they had dinner together. The diner was closed, but the tables were full. Bikers sat with families. Kids laughed. Someone brought a cake that said "Welcome Home" in crooked letters. They sang. They clapped. Sam blew out the candles. Lena smiled. For a moment, everything felt okay. Then the door opened. Mr. Hartley walked in. He wore a long coat and shiny shoes. He held up a piece of paper like it was a trophy. "Good evening," he said. His voice was smooth and cold. "I have some news for the property owner." Duke stood up slowly. His chair scraped the floor. "You can leave your papers at the door. We are closed." "Mr." Hartley smiled. "This is not about being open or closed. This is about a demolition notice." He laid the paper on the counter. "You have 30 days to vacate the premises. The building has been approved for redevelopment." The room went silent. Someone dropped a fork. It clattered on the tile. Lena felt her chest tighten. The walls seemed to close in. Her home was being taken away again. She thought of the van, the cold nights, the hunger, the running. She reached for Sam's hand. Duke stepped forward. His jaw was set. His voice was low. "You cannot do this. We have a right to be here." Mr. Hartley shrugged. "You have a lease. I have a permit. The law is on my side." He turned to leave. Then he looked back. 30 days. Not one more. He walked out. The door swung shut behind him. The room stayed quiet. Then the priest from the church stood up. "We can fight this. We can show the city what this place means to our community." Trigger nodded. He is not the only one who knows people. Lena looked at Duke. He was staring at the demolition notice like it was a snake. She could see the fear in his eyes. The old fear. The fear of losing everything again. She squeezed Sam's hand. Then she walked to the counter. She picked up the notice. She read it slowly. Then she turned to face the room. "We do not have to be afraid," she said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. "He thinks he can scare us. But we have something he does not have. We have each other. We have this community. We have the club. We have the church. We have the families who eat here every day." She lifted the paper. "So let's show him. Let's show the whole city. We throw a block party next week. A big one. Music, food, games. We invite everyone. We show them that this diner is not just a building. It is the heart of this neighborhood. And hearts do not get demolished." The room erupted. Hoots, applause, whistles. Trigger pounded the table. Someone yelled, "That is our girl." Duke walked over to her. He looked at her with something new in his eyes. Pride, deep and full. He set his hand on her shoulder. "You have got your mother's fire," he said. Lena smiled. Then her face grew serious. She looked up at him. "We will win this one," Grandpa. The word hung in the air. It was small and huge at the same time. Duke's eyes got wet. He pulled her into a hug. The room cheered. Lena hugged him back. She felt the beating of his heart. She felt the strength of his arms. She felt the beginning of something she had never had before. Family. And she knew, deep down, that they would fight for it. Together, the next few days turned the diner into a war room. Lena stood at the counter with a notebook and a pen. She made lists, long lists. Food stands, games, music, chairs, tables, a bouncy castle. She assigned jobs to everyone who walked in. Trigger, You are in charge of the barbecue. You know how to handle a grill. Trigger grinned. Child, I can grill a steak that makes grown men cry. Good. That is what we need. Tears of joy. She turned to another biker. Snake, you are on games. We need a ring toss, a beanbag throw, and a dunk tank. Can you find a dunk tank? Snake scratched his beard. I know a guy. He runs a carnival. He owes me a favor. Then call him. Lena moved through the room like a general. She checked on the food donations. She spoke to the church ladies about pies. She talked to a teenager who played guitar about performing. She did not stop moving. Every time she felt fear crawl up her throat, she swallowed it and made another list. Sam sat in the corner of the booth. He had a giant piece of white paper. It stretched across the whole table. He had a box of crayons. His tongue poked out of the corner of his mouth as he worked. Duke leaned over his shoulder. What are you making, little man? Sam held up his creation. Big red letters said, Save our diner. Around the letters, he had drawn the diner. He drew the club. He drew a big sun. He drew hearts on the roof. He drew himself and Lena holding hands. Your mom had a gift for art, Duke said softly. You got it too, Sam beamed. Can I hang it up at the party? Absolutely, we will put it right above the front door. So everyone sees it. The Hells Angels went to work. They knew people. They knew shop owners. They knew a man who owned a sound system big enough for a stadium. They knew a woman who ran a bakery and had a soft spot for lost causes. They called in favors. They traded promises. By Wednesday, they had crates of hot dog buns, cases of soda, a frozen turkey, and a giant inflatable castle that had a small tear in it. We can patch it, Trigger said. A needle and thread. Good as new. Lena looked at the pile of supplies. Something warm spread in her chest. She had never been part of anything this big. She had never had people who showed up. On Thursday, a young woman with a press badge knocked on the diner door. Her name was Miss Rivera. She worked for the local news station. She had heard about the block party. Is it true that a group of bikers runs a free meal program out of this diner? She asked. Duke crossed his arms. It is true that a group of people feed their neighbors. We just happen to ride motorcycles. Miss Rivera smiled. Can I bring a camera crew on Saturday? Lena stepped forward. Yes, but you have to show the whole story, not just the bikes. Show the families. Show the kids. Show the hope. Miss Rivera scribbled in her notebook. I like that. Hope, that is a good angle. She left with a promise to cover the event. Lena watched her go. Her stomach felt like it was full of butterflies. But they were not bad butterflies. They were the kind that made you want to fly. The days blurred together. People from the neighborhood showed up to help. A woman from the laundromat brought streamers. A man from the hardware store dropped off paint. The priest from the church offered a tent for shade. The diner became a hive of buzzing, laughing energy. Friday night, they set up the tables outside. They hung the bunting. They tested the sound system. They tied balloons to the lampposts. Sam stood on a chair and watched them hang his banner above the door. He clapped his hands. It is beautiful, he said. Lena pulled him down and hugged him. It is perfect. You made it perfect. That night, she fell asleep in their small blue room. She dreamed of the party. She dreamed of music and laughter. She dreamed of the diner standing tall and strong. But dreams can change. The morning of the party, Lena woke before the sun. She felt different, a heaviness in the air. She slipped out of bed and padded to the front of the diner. She pulled open the curtain. The sky was gray. low clouds pressed down like a lid. She grabbed Duke's phone from the counter and checked the weather. Rain, thunderstorms, 60% chance by noon. Her heart dropped. She thought of all the work, the supplies, the bouncy castle, the banner. She thought of Mr. Hartley's cold smile. She could see the demolition notice in her mind. It felt like the sky was mocking her. A wave of doubt washed over her. It started in her chest and spread to her legs. She leaned against the counter. Her hands shook. She heard footsteps behind her. Then a large, warm hand landed on her shoulder. Duke's voice was low and kind. "Don't worry. We've faced worse than a little water. It won't cancel love." The clouds stayed gray, but they did not open. Not yet. By 10 in the morning, the first families arrived. They came with kids in strollers and grandparents leaning on canes. They came with folding chairs and coolers. They came with smiles that had not seen much to smile about. The Hells Angels stood behind long tables. They wore their leather cuts and their grins. Trigger manned the grill. Smoke rose into the damp air. The smell of barbecue drifted down the street. People came, more and more. Duke stood at the edge of the crowd. He watched the street fill with neighbors. Some he knew. Many he did not. They came anyway. He felt a swell in his chest. He checked the sky. The clouds hung heavy and dark. He said a quiet word to whatever was listening. "Not today," he whispered. "Please, not today." The bouncy castle went up. Trigger patched the small tier with heavy thread. Kids lined up. Sam was first in line. He bounced and laughed, his joy carried across the parking lot. Lena watched from the diner steps. She held her notebook to her chest like a shield. The crowd was bigger than she had dreamed. She saw the church ladies at their pie table. She saw Snake running the ring toss. She saw Miss Rivera's camera crew setting up near the street. A little girl tugged on Lena's sleeve. "Are you the one who planned this?" Lena knelt down. "I helped. It is so fun," the girl said. "I got a hot dog and a balloon. That is a good day then," the girl ran off. Lena stood. She looked at the crowd. She looked at the diner behind her. She looked at Sam, who was now chasing a boy with a green balloon. She remembered the van, the cold nights, the empty stomach, the fear that never left. She climbed the steps. She pulled out a piece of paper. It was crumpled. She had written a speech that morning. She had practiced it in the mirror. But now she folded it and put it away. She did not need paper. She raised her hand. Someone saw her. They nudged their neighbor. The crowd quieted. Duke stepped forward and handed her the microphone. His eyes were calm. He nodded. Lena took a breath. Her voice cracked at first. "Hi, my name is Lena. A year ago, I was living in a van with my little brother. The crowd went silent. I did not know where our next meal was coming from. I did not know if we would get through the winter. I was scared. Every single day. I was scared." She paused. She looked at Sam. He was still now. He was watching her. This diner saved us. Duke saved us. These people saved us. They did not ask questions. They did not want anything from us. They just fed us. They just helped us. They showed us that we mattered. Her voice grew stronger. This place matters. It matters to every person who has come here hungry. It matters to every kid who got a warm meal and a safe place to sleep. And I am not going to let anyone take it away from us. The crowd cheered. She felt heat rush to her cheeks. Duke calls this the family business, and I get it now. Because family is not just blood. Family is who shows up with a full shopping cart. Family is who stands next to you when the sky is dark. Family is everybody out here today." She was about to say more. She opened her mouth. That is when the sky opened. The rain came down in sheets. Fat drops slammed into the pavement. The crowd gasped. For a moment, people scattered. They grabbed children and coolers. But then something strange happened. They stopped. A man opened a big umbrella and held it over the woman next to him. She did not even know him. A mom pulled her jacket over two kids who were not hers. A group of bikers lifted a tarp and held it over the pie table. Trigger kept flipping burgers. Rain sizzled on the grill. No one left. Lena stood in the rain. Her hair soaked her face. She was drenched. But she smiled. She looked out at the crowd. They were laughing. They were standing together. Duke walked up beside her. He held a big black umbrella. He held it over both of them. "Told you," he said. "It won't cancel love." A black car pulled up to the curb. The door opened. Mr. Hartley stepped out. He had no umbrella. Rain soaked his expensive suit. His hair plastered to his forehead. He stood still. He watched. He watched the kids play in the rain. He watched the bikers serve food. He watched families huddle together under tarps. He watched Lena stand tall on the steps. He began to clap. Slow at first. Then, louder. He walked through the rain toward the steps. The crowd parted. They watched him with suspicion. He stopped in front of Duke. "I've seen a lot," Hartley said, "but never a biker gang and a whole neighborhood fight for a greasy spoon." He shook his head. A smile crossed his face. A real one. "You win. I'll drop the purchase." The crowd erupted. Cheers rose into the gray sky. People hugged each other. Trigger lifted Sam onto his shoulders. Sam's voice rose above the noise. "We did it. We did it." Duke held out his hand. Hartley shook it. "Thank you," Duke said. Hartley nodded. He turned and walked back to his car. He looked back once. He saw Lena and Sam hugging. He saw the banner above the door. He shook his head again. Then he got in his car and drove away. The rain stopped by evening. The clouds broke apart, and the sun came out low and golden. It painted the diner in warm light. Lena sat on the steps with Sam asleep in her lap. She watched the crowd slowly drift home. Duke came out and sat beside her. He did not say anything at first. He just looked at the sky. "You did good today," he said. "We did good," she corrected. Duke smiled. "Yeah. The next week moved like a slow river. The legal paperwork came through. A judge signed the papers for temporary guardianship." Lena held the document in her hands and read it 3 times. She felt her chest get tight. "Does this mean we stay?" Sam asked. "Yeah, buddy," she said. "This means we stay." There were more appointments. More forms. A kind woman named Ms. Patterson helped them through the process. She smiled at Lena and said, "You are very brave." Lena did not know how to answer that. She just nodded. Then came the school. Lena stood at the front desk of the Adult Education Center. She signed her name on the enrollment form for the GED program. The lady at the desk handed her a schedule and a big textbook. Lena carried it out like it was made of gold. She looked at the cover. Math. She had not done math in years. When she got back to Duke's house, she opened the book at the kitchen table. The numbers looked like a foreign language. She put her head in her hands. A heavy hand landed on her shoulder. Duke looked down at the page. "Tough stuff?" he asked. "I do not even know where to start." Duke pulled out a chair. He sat down. He picked up a pencil. "Let me see," he said. I barely finished high school, but I remember a thing or two. An hour later, they had filled 3 pages. Lena understood fractions for the first time. Duke was not a good teacher, but he was patient. That mattered more. Sam started kindergarten on a Tuesday. Lena walked him to the bus stop. He wore a new backpack with dinosaurs on it. Duke had bought it the day before. "You be good," Lena said. "I will," Sam said. "Can I tell them about the bikes?" "Yeah," she said. "You can tell them about the bikes." The bus pulled up. Sam climbed the steps. He waved through the window, his face pressed against the glass. Lena waved back until the bus turned the corner. She stood there for a long time. She went home to an empty house. She opened her math book. She studied until her eyes hurt. Moving day came on a Saturday. It did not take long. They had almost nothing. A duffel bag of clothes, a few books, Sam's dinosaur backpack, Lena's notebook. But Duke's house had a room for each of them. Sam got the room with the window that faced the garage. He could watch the bikes from his bed. Lena got a room with a soft blue blanket and a lamp that worked. She stood in the doorway of her room. She touched the doorknob. She turned it. She turned it again. She had never had a door of her own. Duke walked up and held out a small silver key. It was attached to a leather fob with an eagle stamped on it. "What is this?" she asked. "It's the key to the house," he said. "Every member of this family carries one." She took it. The metal was warm from his hand. "This is your home now," he said. Lena closed her fingers around the key. She felt something loosen in her chest. She tried to speak. She could not. Duke cleared his throat. "There's pie in the kitchen." Trigger brought it. She laughed. It came out like a small sob. But it was a laugh. That night, the house was quiet. Sam fell asleep early. He had talked about bikes and dinosaurs and his new teacher. He was exhausted. Lena tucked him in. She kissed his forehead. She could not sleep. She walked downstairs. She stepped out onto the porch. The night air was cool. The stars were bright, thousands of them scattered across the black sky. She sat down on the porch steps. She hugged her knees. She looked up. She heard the screen door open. Duke came out. He sat down next to her. He did not say anything. He just looked up at the same sky. They sat in silence for a long time. "Do you think my mom is proud of me?" she asked. Her voice was small. She did not look at him. She kept her eyes on the stars. Duke was quiet. She was afraid she had said something wrong. Then she felt his arm wrap around her. It was heavy and warm. It pulled her close. She looked up at him. His eyes were wet. He did not try to hide it. "She's bragging to all the angels now," he said. The tears came then. She did not stop them. She leaned into him. They sat together on the porch, looking up at the sky. The key was in her pocket. The house was behind them. Sam was asleep in his room. She was home. The courtroom felt bigger than it needed to be. But maybe that was just Lena's nerves. She sat between Duke and Sam. Her hands were folded in her lap. She tried to keep them still. Sam wore his dinosaur shirt. It was a little tight now. He had grown. Duke bought him a new one, but Sam wanted this one today. He said it was lucky. The bailiff called the case. Everyone stood. The judge was an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes. She looked at the papers on her desk for a long time. Then she looked up. Lena's heart pounded so loud she thought the whole room could hear it. The judge smiled. "This is the kind of family that makes this country great." Lena blinked. She felt heat in her eyes. The judge signed the final papers. She stamped them with a heavy thunk. Guardianship is granted. Permanent and final. The room erupted. Behind them, the Hells Angels filled the benches. Trigger was there. Big Mike. Old Pete. They wore their leather cuts with pride, and on each cut, pinned near the heart, was a small button. It had a picture of a woman with a warm smile, Maggie, her name printed beneath in small silver letters. The angels stood. They clapped. They cheered. It was loud enough to shake the walls. Lena turned to Duke. He was already looking at her. His eyes were wet. He did not say anything. He just opened his arms. Lena fell into them. Sam wrapped his arms around both of them. They hugged in the middle of the courtroom. The judge watched with a soft smile. Ms. Patterson wiped her eyes with a tissue. "Thank you," Lena whispered into Duke's leather cut. "Thank you for everything." Duke held her tighter. "No thanks needed, kid. You're mine now." Sam pulled back and looked up at Duke. "Does that mean you're our dad now?" The room went quiet. Duke's face softened. He knelt down so he was eye level with Sam. "I'm whatever you need me to be," he said. "But yeah, I'd like that. I'd like that a lot." Sam grinned. He hugged Duke around the neck. The angels cheered again. Trigger let out a big whoop that echoed off the walls. Later, outside the courthouse, the sun was bright. The angels lined up on their bikes. They revved their engines in a loud salute. The noise was happy. It made Lena laugh. "This is a weird family," she said. Duke smiled. "Yeah, but it's ours." The next 6 months moved faster than Lena could believe. She studied hard. She passed her GED with a score that made Miss Patterson gasp. Duke framed the certificate and hung it over the diner counter, right next to the photo of Maggie. Lena started as the shelter program's coordinator. She was paid by the city now. She organized the food drives. She scheduled the volunteer shifts. She made the shopping lists. She kept everything running smooth. Duke called her the boss. She told him to stop. He didn't stop. The diner got a fresh coat of paint. A new sign went up over the door. Big letters, bright red. Maggie's Place. Below it, smaller letters, open hearts, full carts. The day of the 1-year anniversary came in the spring. The weather was perfect. Warm sun. Soft breeze. The parking lot was full of bikes and cars and families. Lena stood behind the counter and looked out at the crowd. The diner was alive. Kids ran between tables. Parents laughed. The smell of pancakes and coffee filled the air. The Hells Angels worked the grill and the cash register and the coffee pots. Sam sat in the corner with a group of little kids around him. He was reading aloud from a dinosaur book. His voice was clear and confident. The kids leaned in. They listened to every word. Lena felt her chest swell. Duke came to stand beside her. He leaned his elbows on the counter. He looked at the photo of Maggie that hung on the wall. The frame was shiny. Someone polished it every day. "She would have loved this," he said. Lena nodded. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "Do you think she knows?" Lena asked. "Do you think she can see us?" Duke was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Yeah, I think she can see everything." Lena looked up at the photo. Maggie's smile looked back at her. It was the same smile Lena saw in her memories. The same warmth, the same hope. Lena put her hand over her heart. Then she touched the small silver key that hung on a chain around her neck. The key to the house. The key to home. She spoke soft, so only Duke could hear. "We're okay, Mom. Duke put his arm around her shoulder. He looked at the photo too. His voice was rough. "We're family." Lena leaned into him. She breathed deep. The diner was full. The sun was warm. Sam was safe. Duke was there. She was home. And it was beautiful. I hope you like this story. Please share what's your favorite part of the story and where in the world you are watching from. Have a wonderful day.